UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast on the United Federation of Podcasts. I'm your host, Patrick Devlin, and joining me today, as always, is the amazing Amy Nelson. Amy, how are you?
I am doing quite well. I am loving Picard and loving just talking about it with like random people. And just the other day, I had a student come up and, Miss, are you watching the new Picard? I said, yes, I am. And actually, I had a student who's in our video production class interview me about Star Trek. And I was like, oh boy, I said, how short do you need this to be? Because I could talk for hours. In fact, I do on a podcast.
Or multiples. But yeah. All right, so I'm glad you said you're loving it because I'm going to, at some point today, call you a hypocrite.
Uh-oh.
Yep. I'll warn you now. You'll
Okay.
see it coming.
Okay.
You'll see it coming.
All right.
But
you can contact the network at contact@ufp.earth, on Twitter at UFPearth, and on Facebook. So that's where you can find us.
yes, and we will definitely respond to your comments. I just won't respond about a new episode till we've recorded.
Oh, yes.
Because I don't read those. I try not to get involved
Yeah.
until we've recorded about the new one. Yeah, I'm like the only person in the world who does that, but I just, I don't want other people's opinions.
Right. Yeah.
I want to be wrong on my own. So, what was your, let's make this part quick because we never do, but what was your initial thought the first time you watched this show?
Okay. So the episode, let's just give the listeners, in case they're coming back years from now, this is Star Trek Picard, episode 2. What's the name of it?
Maps and Legends.
Maps and Legends, yes. So initial thoughts. Oh my gosh, Pat, I think we were texting and I'm like, I have to watch this again. It was so much information, just an overload. And I didn't even feel like I got a fraction of the story because there was so much. So I have watched it now a total of 4 times and I still have missed things, like serious things. So this episode, I was on Postcards on the Line. That was episode 1. But then this weekend, I joined Bruce, Brandy, and Dan Gunther on their live that's on Kurtzrat's production, not Trek FM. And so I joined them and they're like, well, what did you think about Geordi and the reference to Worf and Riker and Geordi? I'm like, I completely missed that. Pat.
Really?
I am the next gen queen and 4 times I missed it.
Should we take that card and hold it till next week on you?
I
probation?
know. Please, listeners, don't hate me.
Okay, so wow.
It was just much information, but I loved it, and I loved the opening, which I know we're going to talk about.
Okay, so my initial thoughts was the same as yours. It was a ton of information.
Yeah.
When you boil it down, it's still a ton of information, but it all leads to like 1 or 2 real storylines. Mm-hmm. But it's a ton. It's a huge data drop. Yes. Is really what this episode is, or info dump. I enjoyed it a lot. I was texting you, and when you were telling me there was all this information, I didn't even know it yet because I had just gotten to the second F-bomb of the episode, and I was like, whoa, which we'll talk about later because that one felt more natural to me than any of the other curses in this episode. And honestly, you can scream and yell all you want, listeners. I don't care that there's curses in the episodes. I don't. I know a lot of people do, and I know why they do it. And I understand why they do because they don't want their kids hearing it. But I live in New York, and my kids hear it anyway, so I don't care. Um, just me. And moving on, I actually missed a bunch of things right around there because of it, though. I even like went back. I looked it up online, and like someone was like, "She says cheeky frecker. It's a Irish term," and I'm like, "No, she doesn't." And I put on closed captioning and took a photo of it.
Yep,
and it says it right
F-bomb.
in English.
Yep.
But and that one doesn't feel as natural to me. But anyway, long story short, no, I definitely noticed the reference to Riker, Worf, and Geordi, and I think there might have been one more in there. I don't remember all that was mentioned, but I definitely know those were. And I felt like I didn't remember all the information, but I felt like I heard all the information while I watched it the first time. And I watched it the second time, and if any of you listeners ever want to see the worst notes ever, look at mine. There's a lot of them. Because I wrote down everything.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of information here.
Yeah.
So, but
okay, so I also had to watch with the closed captioning on, and I didn't watch episode 1 with it, so I don't know if it's a CBS thing or if it's a Star Trek Picard thing. But those closed captions were so delayed. It was distracting because I'm reading it, but they're already on to the next sentence or two. And I had such a hard time following with the closed caption. I had to turn it off. And then I'm like, well, what did she say? And then I had to turn it back on. It was a hot mess. I never had that problem with Discovery. So I'm wondering what the issue is, because it was not like that. And it's not like that on other shows that I watch on CBS. So I was very frustrated at that. That was the only frustration I had.
I only turned closed captioning on for that one line.
Yeah.
And it was very delayed,
Mm-hmm.
but everything I've watched ever with closed captions has always been delayed.
No,
never
man,
been right
Discovery was on it.
I never even turned that on. But like if I'm sitting somewhere like at a doctor's office and I can hear the TV, they always usually leave closed captions on.
Yeah.
It's 2 lines behind.
Oh, no, not what I've noticed, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I don't do it enough. Like I said, I only do it at doctor's offices or
Yeah.
something like that. Like I don't turn on closed captions personally because I find if I were to do that, it's the same reason why I don't watch like Japanese animation. I don't watch it subtitled. I watch it dubbed, which is not the better way of watching. It's better watching it subtitled. You get more of the exact translation. However, I'm reading while trying to watch a cartoon. It just really doesn't work for me. Like I spend all my time reading, so I try not to do that. So anyway, this is not about Japanese animation or why I don't use subtitles. And it is, however, about this episode and the opening scene being a flashback to the moment the synths decided to destroy Mars. Which is interesting because not just the scene itself. Later on, we hear that happened in the middle of... We get definitive answer that happened right in the middle of trying to save the Romulans. So, but what'd you think of that scene in general?
I loved that open. It just brought up so many questions that I have. And it's interesting you say that the synths attacked. Well, it was very clear that there is some puppeteer that programmed and hacked those synths to cause the destruction, right? So, and did you know
Wait, why do you say that?
Why? Because his eyes twitched and he
I don't know if there's a puppeteer, though.
No, there is. There's something that happened in his programming that switched. Yes.
We'll debate that later. But I believe that did you get into trouble last night? The HE hockey sticks, was them meeting and deciding to do this at a specific moment so that it was a coordinated attack.
No, that was a human being.
No, she said that to the android.
I know. Yeah,
right.
But they were conversing.
She asked him, did you get into trouble last night? And he says yes.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, what kind of trouble? And he won't answer the question.
No, he says, I went to sleep or whatever.
No, that's not the exact lines. He said something along the lines of never mind. That was them deciding, and they probably don't have to physically meet because they're androids and they have the internet, you would assume. But that was them deciding to release a coordinated attack at a specific moment. And that eye blinking thing was strictly an alarm clock.
Yeah. Programming him
They program themselves.
No.
We'll get into that later. Oh, yes.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
No.
In fact, that's why you see Isaac Asimov's book in this episode.
Right. There was a definite connection there. But
yeah.
I have a quick bit of trivia. At Star Trek Las Vegas in 2016 for the 50th anniversary, MAC Cosmetics had a huge display in the vendor room. And there they had a Data,
Model.
look-alike, and a Deanna Troi and a 7 of 9. And they were there promoting their special cosmetics to celebrate Star Trek 50. That F8 android is the same guy who was at STLV playing the android.
Oh, is
Data.
he?
Yeah.
So I noticed someone posted something about that, but I didn't know what the answer was.
Yeah. So he was there working for MAC Cosmetics, and now he's on screen at Star Trek Picard. I don't even know the backstory behind it, but I just think that's so awesome.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. A little bit of trivia for you if you go to STLV. If you remember that at the 50th. So I was there.
That's pretty cool. Yes, you were.
Yes.
We know. We hear every episode.
So there's definitely an underlying tone of those who treat androids like, I'm going to steal a Battlestar Galactica term, toasters, and those who treat the androids like people and showing them respect and talking to them and thinking that they have feelings. But then there's quite a number of the people there who are like, it doesn't matter. They don't have feelings. They don't So it's like, how would you, Pat, treat an android?
It's a good question because I'd love to say guaranteed I treat them like human, right? However, I don't treat my computer like a human. So I guess it would matter how, again, we back to measure of a man, right? How sentient are they? And if they're sentient, then you should treat them like humans. And if they're not, do you really have to? I mean, I wouldn't just kick it, but I don't know. Because while we're seeing this, we're not seeing, he's clearly not as developed as Data is, right? So, again, where is that cutoff line? And obviously they think for themselves because they're killing everyone because they were treated like garbage. But that's another story.
If you have that
Absolutely,
take.
but I absolutely
or
do.
They are an android they are a machine that's programmed, and so that program was initiated. Pat, we're going to represent both sides.
You can. You're wrong, but you can.
Okay. Don't tell me I'm wrong.
You have every right to be wrong, but you're wrong. It's so obvious that they're shoving the 3 laws in our face in this whole episode. They put the book right in the episode. And actually, there's 4 laws.
Okay, what are these laws?
The laws of robotics?
Yes.
All right, we'll jump to that. A robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And number 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws. Later in the book Foundations and Earth, a 0 law was given because they didn't want to change the 3 laws, so then they made it 0 through 3. And it's a robot may not injure humanity or by inaction allow humanity to come to harm.
Okay, so right there proves my point.
Yeah, you never saw iRobot, huh?
That they did not do this.
Did you ever see iRobot?
No.
Okay. In iRobot, the 3 laws are used to kill humans to save humans from humans.
Oh, well, I have seen Battlestar Galactica, and that's sort of that same idea.
They use the exact same 3 laws principle.
Okay, so the reason why I say that you just proved my point is that third one, like, he commits suicide. I don't know if you call that for Android, but he kills himself. Like, he wouldn't do that according to those laws. So he was definitely programmed.
Yeah, he wouldn't hurt humanity, which in this case can be extrapolated to be any sentient creature.
Yeah, and he wouldn't hurt himself.
Except
so
that
therefore
the whole
he
idea
was programmed.
Except the whole idea of the 3 laws is that they're constantly broken in every time they're ever used.
Okay.
Ever. The Will Smith movie, iRobot, watch it, please. It's actually a good movie. And it explains this whole theory